Ghoulies and Ghosts Week continues tonight on PM Magazine with a woman who will keep you on pins and needles.
She's a voodoo queen who dabbles in secret potions and tarot cards. But watch her conjure up the spirits when she performs an ancient voodoo marriage ritual.
Then, if you suffer from high anxiety, this isn't the job for you. Bob gets a bird's eye view from the city as a painter who's doing his level best to keep America's flagpoles beautiful.
Any athletes out there? This man runs a 7-minute mile backwards. See why he says retro running could be the fitness fad of the 80s.
Ooh, a butterfly! Good evening, everyone. I'm Peggy Kokernot.
I'm Mario Bosquez. Welcome to PM Magazine and Other Earth Early Childhood Development Center. Ghoulies and Ghosts Week continues on tonight's PM Magazine. We'll show you one of the most amazing religions in the country.
Bob Lacey's going to find out what a voodoo queen is.
It's like no church service you've ever seen, but it's still considered a religious ceremony. And in this country, some say it has 500,000 followers. It's called voodoo. New Orleans. It's the stronghold of voodoo in the United States. Today, practitioners come from Haiti and Cuba, but according to this woman, the first voodooists were from Africa.
It came to New Orleans by way of the slave trade. And these people that were forced into slavery had their own belief, their own African beliefs.
Vanita Martindale takes her voodoo very seriously. She says several psychic experiences led her to believe she had special powers that eventually brought her to the French Quarter of New Orleans, where she practices her ancient beliefs. She has become known as the Voodoo Queen.
This is a talking drum because if you squeeze it, it makes different sounds. And this can be heard from any mouth, but it draws spirits. And it's played to draw the spirits.
Because of Vanita's special powers, people seek her out for guidance and help.
The last 3 cards in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He is the Emperor. He will make the decisions. The Emperor is the sign of fire or heat, and he is your protector. Sounds like a husband to me.
But most people come to see Vanita to tour the only voodoo museum in the world. Here they learn the mysterious secrets of this ancient and frightening way. The tour starts with something everyone recognizes.
These voodoo dolls appear very interesting. Those little ones that look like cookies, those are made out of the umbilical cord. Those are effigy voodoo dolls. This is a fertility doll, and she's a little pregnant here. Many voodoo queens in the past have been known to own their own serpent, and they do dances with this serpent to remind people that evil is among people, and you cannot be afraid of evil. There are drums for fertility, drums for harvesting, drums for travel, drums for everything. This is a real working voodoo altar. The word voodoo before you leave, the real word is vaudun. The French said voodoo, slang for what in the world are you doing?
Vanita is not only an expert on voodoo tradition, she also conducts these mysterious rituals. And today, the Voodoo Queen will allow our cameras to record one of these rites.
I'm to be married. Please help me. Oh, yay. Oh, yay.
In the ceremony, the evil spirits are repelled so that the upcoming marriage may be a happy one.
To dance and make joyous noise to bring down the spirits is very, very powerful. It's a very fine thing to do. The spirits look kindly upon people that do that. There's nothing to fear. Your marriage, I see for you, will be safe, all from harm.
For some, the ritual and the Voodoo Museum are proof enough that voodoo is real. For those who are still skeptical, the Voodoo Queen has some parting words.
Spirits don't play. And I believe the spirits are very real. And I think that eventually people are going to start realizing that there is a good and a bad and evil realm all around us. And sooner or later, we've got to come together as a civilized world to fight off negative forces.
Still skeptical? Maybe that's better than being superstitious. But for Vanita and many others, voodoo is as real to them as life itself.
Ooh, witches and goblins and a skeleton, too. By the way, Vanita used to be a beautician, then she answered a job at the Museum for Voodoo.
That's right. Now, the guy who interviewed her read tarot cards to see if the job was in her future. Well, it was, and, well, Vanita got the job.
Hey, and don't forget, all week long, Ghoulies and Ghosts on PM Magazine. Tomorrow, we're going to visit the cell where John Dillinger, the ghost of John Dillinger, has been seen. And on Thursday, we have a really scary Halloween show.
Next on PM Magazine, find out what life is like at the top. Because you're still at Mother Earth, but we're sending in the clowns because it's Halloween time, and sometimes, well, you have to turn your smile upside down. Oh, well, she'll cheer up in just a little bit. We have a scary story coming your way on tonight's PM Magazine, but it's not about ghosts at all. Don't worry, he'll be all right. It's about a guy who has a very dangerous job.
What's he doing out there?
I hope he has, like, one of those strap things on.
I hope he's getting paid for it.
I don't care how many years you do it. It still frightens you.
To most of us, he's a spot in the sky, a blur on a building, a nut on a rope.
Nice and peaceful up here, right?
But ask Bob Melicky and he'll tell you that he is a steeplejack and his office is a flagpole, 400 feet above street level.
When I was young, I always thought about the circus, really. And then the railroad.
The circus would have been fine for some, but not a Melicky. You see, Bob's grandfather began the family flagpole business way back in 1912. He was joined by Bob's father, another John, in the 1930s, and that set the stage for the arrival of the third generation. Bob was a teenager climbing into a man's world.
Oh, we had a ball. You know, I was young, snot-nosed. I knew everything. I don't know how many times I got fired.
By your dad?
Oh, yeah. I don't blame him. But he'd come by and pick me up the next day, you know, to go to work.
Okay, a little higher, Fine.
These days, Bob is the only Melicky left in the business, but he now works with Mike DiCataldo, a veteran rigger who's on hand to lend his expertise and support. And when you're dangling above an ornate dollhouse called St. Patrick's Cathedral, you need support.
I keep telling my wife that it's white paint. It's white paint, not gray hair.
Yeah, you got white paint down there, all right.
Mike's been a rigger for over 30 years, and he knows what he's doing. If he ties a knot, he's you know it's tied. You don't have to worry about it.
In real terms, you trust him with your life, don't you?
Not really.
Why not?
When I'm hanging on that little cable, I tie it.
So there's never a complete trust there, huh? You always check it yourself.
I tie it. That's right, brother.
Now, aside from the obvious danger of falling off the pole, there are some other hazards of the trade.
You got to be careful you don't drop the brush, drop the paint, drop the tools. God forbid you hit somebody on the head. You know, I don't need that aggravation.
Aggravation? Believe me, if this guy drops a can of paint on your head from 40 stories up, you won't need a second coat. Well, in some 30-odd years aloft, Bob hasn't had more than what he calls a couple of close calls. And after all this time, he seems to love his work as much as ever. Call it corny, but there's something about the sight of a flag flying on a freshly painted pole that makes his job worthwhile.
I think it looks nice. You see a white pole against a blue sky. It looks beautiful, not just because we just did it.
Long run, it pays off. They'll still remember Bob Melicky, John Melicky, his grandfather. They'll remember them a long, long time before, when we're all gone. Monuments will be up there for them.
Well, look what just came in off the cabbage patch, Peggy.
Hello there, little rabbit. By the way, Bob says he's a little worried about his future. His son is studying computer science and is not interested in taking over the business.
His only hope is that his daughter will marry someone who is interested in it.
We found on PM Magazine now you'd like to find out what some little tots think about Halloween.
I like to dress up like a clown. I'm a witch. I always like to be a ballerina, but I'm not. I'm a butterfly.
Look in there and tell those people.
What people? I always wanted to be a belly dancer.
Can you do a little dance for us?
Happy Halloween! Happy Halloween! Happy Halloween! Happy Halloween!
We hope everybody, old and young, has a happy and safe Halloween.
We sure do.
Next on PM Magazine, the world's can get in on the Halloween spirit, if you know what I mean. Well, if you are a professional race car driver, the cost of maintaining a car and crew can scare the daylights out of you. It can be up to $150,000 a year. But amateurs can also get in on the act in Bonneville, Utah, where they race for money, too.
It's been called beautiful, and it's been called God-forsaken. No one can be indifferent to the salt flats of Utah. The flats are what's left of ancient Lake Bonneville, which used to cover 1/3 of the state of Utah. There's no water here, and even if there was, nothing could grow in this soil. And the million settlers who saw their wagons stop dead in their tracks would never believe that today, this is the fastest natural racetrack in the world.
The thing about Bonneville is you only do it once a year, so you can be a cheapskate the rest of the time. You know, you eat peanut butter for a year, so you can be here for a week.
Thousands of amateur racers from every corner of America pack up every vehicle known to man and travel to Bonneville once every year for this reason, to set land speed records. They run without big-time money and without sponsorship here. Most of these machines were built in the driver's own garage at home, and there are almost as many land speed record classifications as there are vehicles.
Originally, it was a wing tank off an F-80 Korean War jet fighter, you know, gasoline drop tank.
The original body started out as a 75 Datsun B210 hatchback. About all that's left is the two door skins and the hatchback. The rest of it's pretty much home built.
To the mile at 139.181.
A beautiful week. No one's been hurt. We had one terrible crash, a 53 Studebaker over 200 miles an hour. When the crash was over, there was a roll cage with a man inside it. He wound up with a few stitches in his arm and many, many bruises.
They claim that this year the salt at Bonneville is in the best racing condition it's been in for years. To date, the land speed record for any wheel-driven vehicle is 406 miles an hour. Most of the machines here for this week are in the 200 to 350 mile an hour range. And the 9-mile track is deceptively short when you're going at 300 miles per hour. Timing of the speed takes place between a quarter-mile gate in the middle of the course. Computers and sensor lights document accurate speed. If Bonneville had a royal family of racing, it would be the Vescos. They've been coming to Speed Week since it started 36 years ago. Rick, his brother Don, and his wife Marcia are all in the Bonneville's prestigious 200-mile-an-hour club. Marcia Vesco is the only woman in that club. Between them, they've held more than 30 land speed records in cars and motorcycles.
200 seems slow now. 300's ago.
My father actually got us started in it because he had race cars, you know, when we were growing up. We were 5 years old, 4 years old, like that. So when you grow up with race cars and race engines, and the people that are involved in racing, it just kind of gets in your blood.
Yeah, he'd be here right now. He was here right up until after, until he died.
Marcia and Rick have already set records this week. It's Don's turn to take down the track a 20-year-old Streamliner that he and his father had built together before he died. Don's goal is 300 miles an hour plus.
I like going fast. If you go fast on the highway, they give you a ticket. So, you know, the best place to go fast is right here. It's the safest place in the world.
Don Vesco crashed today at more than 350 miles an hour. Parts of his Streamliner were found up to 1.5 miles away from the point of disintegration. Yet Don survived. His only injury, a broken toe.
It isn't the first time Don's been down, but this is obviously his hardest. The whole point is that he's absolutely fine, and all the roll bars and helmets and everything obviously saved his life.
This year, there were more records set during Speed Week than in any other in Bonneville's history. And all across the country, amateur Craig Breedloves are back in their garages already tuning up for next year. And Don Vesco broke a record after all. He survived the fastest, most violent crash ever at Bonneville during a Speed Week.
We're going to go faster than anybody else has went with a wheel-driven vehicle.
Look at all these little bunnies. By the way, Rick's car won the world speed record going 295 miles an hour. His wife, Marcia, is a Hollywood stunt woman. She's been on shows like Dallas, so keep an eye out for her. More PM Magazine is coming up right around the corner. This guy's taking running in a new direction. Keep hopping, bunny. You're pushing that kitty cat. You know, a lot of people would say that jogging is a spectator sport, but on tonight's PM Magazine, we're going to meet a guy who does jogging in a rather unusual way. Even you all will enjoy watching this guy run backwards.
When Ron Austin goes for his daily 6-mile run, people tend to stare. It's not his lightning-fast pace or a flashy outfit that catches their eye. Call it a certain style.
It's part of the territory now. In fact, when I don't get stared at, I get worried. Probably if you took a percentage poll right now in Lexington, Kentucky, you'd probably find out the majority of the people think I'm crazy.
But there are people in Ron's old Kentucky home who are saying, hey, maybe this backwards guy has a good idea. Good enough that maybe I'll risk looking like an idiot. Maybe even in my own neighborhood.
He's very outgoing, and he has a way of winning you over to his way of running.
Ron's way of running goes back about 6 years to a hamstring injury that didn't bother him when he turned around. The pain disappeared, and Ron found himself running backwards into a great personal discovery.
I noticed my mental activity. Now, this sounds probably strange to you, but my mental activity has definitely increased.
Ron's strength, endurance, agility, balance, and peripheral vision all improved. They're the benefits of what Ron calls retro training.
It's very simple. All we're going to be doing is working at the opposite muscle groups that you use while going forward.
But retro isn't exclusive to the fleet of foot.
They think I'm crazy anyway, but anyway, I'll say you do it too and you'll get healthy.
The University of Oregon is a long way from Lexington, but it has a good track record when it comes to the running world. It was here that Ron discovered the research of Dr. Barry Bates.
It was only after we got into it and looked at it a little more seriously that we began to realize, or to at least began to think that there was something there that went beyond the ho-ho-ho stage. And now we're, of course, really convinced that there is, and it's just a matter of sorting it out, trying to figure out what's happening.
To avoid being placed in what Ron calls the nut category, he's taking big steps to get the scientific and medical community behind him. PhDs at the University of Kentucky are studying computerized pictures of how Ron runs.
They introduced me to the retro training, and I appreciate it because it's helped me come a long way.
In this small Kentucky hospital, surgery patients are walking backwards as part of their physical therapy.
There's one more great big step. Good. Okay, let's turn around.
Dr. Austin Lidback is seeing people with total knee or hip replacements make speedy recoveries. Even stroke victims using this retro therapy are quickly regaining their self-confidence and coordination.
I think that what we're on to possibly would be opening up new sensory and brain pathways.
Hello, Ron Austin here. Can I help you?
Retro Action is a one-man office where payday is a word from a lost language. A part-time job at a clothing store keeps Ron in running shoes, but his dream that retro training will soon be a catchphrase keeps a smile on his face.
I'm enjoying myself, so I think that's enough at this present time to drive me to get up in the morning and get out there and start doing my retro mileage.
Ron does not want to be a loser. He can run a 7-minute mile backwards. It's safe to call Ron Austin the father of retro training, but we'll all have to wait until 1990 to find out if running backwards will be the fitness find of the 80s.
You ask yourself constantly, where are you headed in life? I mean, you know, this is no longer a bozo thing. This is what's so phenomenal about this. And the only person that's going to keep it going, its momentum right now, is me.
Ron is working on a retro running shoe. He's also making an instructional videotape.
Tomorrow on PM Magazine, we really want you to join us because we'll scare you again, and we'll have some fun. We're going to Kaler Pavilion over at Brackenridge Park for a pumpkin carving contest.
Joan Rivers' Mighty Mouth zings one-liners at everybody who's anybody. But did it bother her when Liz Taylor said she looked like a clown?
Yes, because I spent a lot of money not to look like a clown.
Tomorrow on PM Magazine, Joan reveals to Marilyn Beck why the laughs are really on her.
Then, Ghoulies and Ghost Week continues in the jail cell where gangster John Dillinger spent some time. His spirit is still seen trying to escape.
And what will the little ghoulies be wearing when they come trick-or-treating? We'll look at this year's best bets and costumes for
Halloween.
And now, on with the parade.
Good night from Mother Earth.
Good night.
You'll love PM Magazine in stereo exclusively on KSAT-12.